What's up guys, I'm Akila. Welcome to my channel. Today's video we're going to be talking about elevating your base routine. There's so many techniques on how to do your makeup, but I feel like this technique makes it a little bit more foolproof. Don't forget to give today's video a thumbs up and subscribe if you aren't already subscribed, and let's go ahead and jump into today's video. Before we get into the makeup, we're gonna prep our skin. Good makeup starts with skin prep. If you ever put on makeup and you looked a little scaly or you got really oily throughout the day, like sometimes the way you prep your skin can make a huge difference. So I'm gonna show you what I like to do. Don't forget to start off with clean skin. Very important. Something that I recently started doing is taking like a face razor, taking off peach fuzz and dry skin. That also helps with the way your makeup applies. It's not something that you have to do, it's a nice little step. So we're going to start off with a toner or a liquid exfoliant. We're using the Polish Choice BHA liquid exfoliant. That dry scaly look that you get sometimes when you're doing your makeup is because you have like dead skin just stuck onto your face, and it's like picking up your makeup. If you're like starting off your day and you still haven't done your skincare, then you will go ahead and apply your serums and all that stuff. I don't typically apply a lot of serums throughout the day, but we're gonna apply the Cocoa Kind Barrier Serum. So yeah, I have combo oily skin. My senior year into college, like that's when I really started to like try to dibble and dabble in makeup, and I didn't know what I was doing, and I had oily skin, so I always looked like a grease lick. It was really a hot mess. It was just me and my Maybelline Fit Me, okay? I really didn't know much about prepping my skin before makeup, so like throughout the day my skin just looked a hot mess. But one thing that I learned throughout the years is that just because you have oily skin does not mean you get to skip out on moisture products. So I always slather my skin in creams, like really thick creams. I know people avoid that with oily skin, but not me. We're going to be using the e.l.f. Happy Hydration Cream. I think this one is discontinued. Maybe you could find it on sale, but this is my favorite cream. They do make another cream which is similar to this one. It's just this one has like hemp seed oil in it. Like, you guys see how thick that is? I'm gonna try my best not to get it in the area where my brows are, because you guys see I barely have brows and I need the pencil to stick. I'm gonna get into my smile lines. If you got any creases on your face, like make sure you moisturize them. We're gonna go in with Cocoa Kind's Revitalizing Eye Cream. I like that this one has like a really cooling tip. And another thing, like in between each layer, try to give your skincare a little bit of time to like soak into the skin before you just add things on top of each other. Like sometimes it takes a little bit of time. This is the point where you would put on sunscreen, but it's nighttime and I'm not going anywhere, so I'm going to go in with my primer. This is the Race Base Blemish Control Primer from Milani. Like, I don't reach for this primer a lot, but it feels really nice on top of this cream that I just put on, and it kind of smells a little bit like tea tree oil. Okay, so the skin is prepped and primed, and now we can go ahead and get into the makeup products. I totally forgot to wet my sponge, so I'm gonna be right back. Okay, so we're gonna get into a little bit of color correcting. I personally have hyperpigmentation and acne scarring, so we're gonna be using orange color corrector. This is one by e.l.f. and it's like $4. So the technique that we're gonna be using today is to not go directly onto the skin with products. Like if you've ever like done your makeup and like things are patching in the places that you applied the product, like sometimes you might put a foundation here, or you might like drip it onto your face, and then you just notice that there's like a streak on your face from where you first applied it, or you apply blush and like it's stuck in a spot that you don't want it to be stuck in. We're literally going to be applying our makeup like painters, with precise application. Like we're literally putting things in the places that you want them to be in. This technique also allows you to build, so you don't have to worry about applying too much at once. We're taking this color corrector, we're going to go on the back of our hand. I'm just going to put a little bit because I feel like I always put too much color corrector, and we're just going to take a little concealer brush. I'm gonna try to leave all the tools that I use in today's video linked down below. Okay, so we're gonna take this little bit of concealer, load it onto the brush. I have darkness around my mouth, so I'm just going to lightly go in around my mouth. Color corrector isn't going to conceal the darkness, it's going to neutralize it. So orange neutralizes purple blue tones that brings grayness. Like when it comes to products that you use under your eye, like less is best, because if you have like creasy under eyes like I do, you put too much product under there, it's going to like really cake up really badly. Usually when I film my videos, my brows are already done, so I almost forgot that I needed to put them on. Okay, the brows are on. I still got to do more with them, but I do the final touches on my brows like towards the end. So we're gonna go in with foundation. We're using the Dior Backstage foundation. You guys know I love this foundation. At this step, you could use your favorite foundation. You don't necessarily have to use what I'm using. You just have to know how to apply that foundation. A liquid foundation like this one, I would apply it with a brush. If you have more of a thicker foundation, or maybe even a matte foundation, you could use a brush, or definitely go in with a sponge. I wouldn't use a sponge with this, only because it's going to soak it all up. And this is a $40 Dior foundation. Like, I'm not wasting any of it. So I'm gonna add some on the back of my hand. Okay, so we're gonna be using the Anissa Pinnacle brush. We're just gonna pat, especially over the areas where we put the color corrector. We're not gonna drag that all over the face. We're just gonna pat it in. Like, this foundation is such a good match. Like, look at that. It's like really hard for me to find like the perfect foundation and undertone. For some reason, like the medium deep category always wants you to be warm, and I'm more so neutral. So like, can you guys see the difference where the foundation is and without? And we didn't drag that orange color corrector all over the face. Like, that was something that I used to do all of the time. I would put on way too much color corrector and I would drag it all over my face and turn my foundation orange. When you're dipping your brush into the foundation, try to get like an even coat. Like, tap it around, warm it up on the back of your hand, so once you apply it on your face, it's just not like in one spot on the brush. You don't necessarily need to go under your eyes. I'm gonna leave my eyes pretty much untouched. Like, that's what the concealer is for. Oh yeah, by the way, this foundation is perfect for oily to combo skin. Dry skin can use it, just make sure you prep correctly, but it's amazing for oily skin. It's supposed to be waterproof. That's the claim on the website, but I'm not wearing foundation to go to the pool, so I wouldn't know. Depending on the amount of coverage that you like to wear, this foundation is buildable. Okay, now we're gonna go in with contour. I like to chisel out my face before I highlight, so we're gonna be using the Makeup by Mario soft sculpt stick. If you guys watch any of my other tutorials, you guys know I like to go in and put it on my face and then blend like crazy to blend it out. It's a pretty emollient bronzer though, so it doesn't take much, but it's always best to put it on the back of your hand. Or you could even like take your brush and just go like that, warm it up on your hand, and then tap it in. I'm gonna warm it up on the back of my hand. We're gonna be using the Morphe E63 and put it exactly where we want it. I feel like bronzer is one of those products that I would like put directly on my skin, and then sometimes, depending on the formula, it would dry, and then you'll just have like a dot of bronzer on your face unblended. So doing it this way just makes it a little more foolproof, where you don't have it like stuck and dried out in one spot. And yes, I do think just applying it straight to the face and like blending it out might be like the faster technique, but it's not like foolproof technique. Putting it on the back of your hand and taking the time to blend it, it just blends out so much better. It looks airbrushed. Like, look at that. No harsh lines. Like, no harsh lines. And don't forget, you can always add more. Like, once you get to a level and you check yourself out, like, do I want more? And I feel like we're at a good place. Okay, so next we're going to be using concealer. The concealer that we're going to be using today does not have an applicator, so we're going to be putting it on the back of my hand anyways. So I just need to choose what color I'm going to use, but we're using the NYX Bare With Me concealer. This is one of my favorite concealers. Okay, so we're gonna start off with a shade that's like closer to my skin complexion. This is in deep golden. Little smidge of a pump on the back of my hand because you don't really need a lot. And we're using a brush that looks like this. This is the Makeup by Ariel brush. And this is mostly just to even out the color corrector before we put on a brightener. And you can use a sponge here. That might be a lot more easier to use a sponge, actually. I mostly like to use my sponge to make sure everything is even. And before we go in with the brightener shade, I'm gonna add my blush because I just love how the blush and the concealer blends together and like creates like a ombre when I do it this way. So we're gonna be using the Rare Beauty liquid blush in Grace, and we're gonna be doing the same thing, applying it on the back of my hand. Blush is always one of those things that when I apply it, like I go a little overboard. Sometimes not a little, a lot overboard. You could use the sponge for this just so you could go in softer, but I'm not gonna do that. I'm gonna use this Jaclyn Hill brush by Morphe. I just love the shape of it. I'm gonna tap that. So now we're gonna go in with the concealer. Also the NYX Bare With Me, but we're using it in the shade Golden. You can find this concealer at the drugstore and you can find it on Amazon. I like to buy it on Amazon because it's so much cheaper and I could just get it shipped directly to my house. So we're gonna apply that under. Not too much because it is very bright. And I try to make it as even as possible because like while it's setting, you don't want it to be like stuck in one place. I'm gonna start blending. I'm using the same brush that I use for the blush for any harsh lines. You could also clear up under here a little bit. I'm using my foundation brush. That concealer, I feel like it's a little too light. It's definitely bringing the brightness, but the undertone is wrong, I think. And we almost forgot to contour my nose. I'm gonna go in with a brush. I like to start like from my brow and work it down so it like gives that eye socket a little bit of shape. Okay, that looks a lot better to me. Okay, so now that all our cream products are applied, it's time for powders. We're going to make sure my under eye is creaseless. Like that concealer is so good for it to be drugstore. We're gonna set it twice. I showed you guys this technique in another video. We're gonna use the setting powder first. This is Charlotte Tilbury in medium 2, I think. These puffs are linked in my Amazon shop. If you're not doing your makeup with a puff, like you're really missing out on the flawlessness. Puffs really get the job done. After you go in with your puff, rub a little off. Make sure it's even on the back of your hand so it doesn't cling to just one spot and you have better control of it. Like the theme of today's video is control. Going in on your hand first and then putting it on the brush gives you better control. I'm not really much of a baker, but we're gonna also apply a little bit of a light setting powder. Put it in. Make sure to always set the places you get oily. Okay, now on a big fluffy brush, we're going to be using the NARS Light Reflecting Setting Powder in the shade Mesa. Like, we're using a big brush. This is also a very, very light powder. Similar to MAC Mineralized Skin Finish and the Sephora Micro Smooth. So those are dupes for this, in my opinion. I just like to take a powder that's my skin tone and lightly go over the rest of my face, also a little bit under my eyes, just to bring everything back into the right tone. Like, can you guys see the difference? I just did it on this side and this side still looks a little powdery. It makes a difference, and it also sets the rest of your face. Now this is the time that you add your powdered blush. Okay, yeah, we're gonna use Milani's Dulce Pink. Like, look how pretty this pink is. Sometimes I forget that I have this. And if you feel like you want to be a little bit more bronzer, this is the Makeup by Mario bronzer in dark. Just bring back some warmth after all that powder. Yes, look at that. When you're doing your makeup, you don't have to take this extra step of all the other powdered products. Like, I mean, we already have on blush, we already have on bronzer, but sometimes things get lost while you're working on your makeup and you just want to put back on the finishing touches. And that's where I'm at, because like, look how more vibrant everything looks now that we touched everything up. Like, I haven't really been using highlighter lately, but this highlighter is so beautiful. I've never been the person to like rose gold highlighters, but this highlighter is amazing. Look how beautiful. Oh my gosh. I'm gonna use the same blush brush, and since everything's like in this pinky tone, like, it's just gonna look like a nice little wash of highlight. It's so pretty. Now, after we've put on all of those powders, we're gonna bring back the skin like finish to my face. I mean, like, if you like your face looking matte, this is perfection. You could just use like a regular setting spray and be good to go, but I like a more dewier finish, so we're going to be using the Morphe Luminous setting spray. This is my absolute favorite setting spray, so I can't do my makeup without it. And we're just making sure that we get every spot on our face. We're also going to put a little bit on our sponge. Tap that off. You don't want to go straight in with that wet sponge. If your under eyes look cakey, this is a hack that changed my life. You're just going to tap, tap, bring them under eyes back to life so they don't look all dry, and then we're gonna lightly tap the rest of our face with the sponge, and then look, we brought a little bit of the glow back. Today's video is not really about eyeshadow. I'm not gonna do anything extravagant, so I'm gonna do the rest of my makeup and I'll be back. Okay guys, I'm back and the makeup is done. Here's what it's looking like. With this technique, this is probably like the best my makeup has looked. It's more softer, it's more intentional. Like, products are put in the places that I want them to be. It made it very easy to like not really make any mistakes. The only downfall of this technique is the back of my hand, but my hand always looks like this anyways. Like, I always apply things to the back of my hands. You guys still might see me here and there still like put things directly on my face, but that's something that I do more so when I'm in a rush. But if I'm taking my time and I'm really intentional about the way I want my makeup to turn out, that's the way that I will do it. So let me know down below what you think about this technique. Would you try it, or do you already do your makeup like this? So that wraps up today's video. Everything that I use in today's video will be linked down below. I will also link the products that I use on my lips and my eyes down below, even though I didn't show it to you guys in today's video. Don't forget to give today's video a thumbs up if you enjoyed, and don't forget to subscribe if you aren't already subscribed, and I'll see you guys in the next video.